Where's the other one?
211. Good evening and welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting at the Ulysses Town Board. It is September 10th, 2024, and I will call this meeting to order at 7 p.m. May we please have a roll call?
Yes, Ms. Bouchard,
Present.
Ms. Weatherby,
Present.
Ms. Olson,
Present.
Mr. Goldman,
Present.
Mr. Boggs.
Present.
Thank you.
There was an agenda that was posted last Friday before you tonight. It's on the website. Are there any alterations, additions, subtractions, deletions that need to be made? If not, accept the motion to approve.
Move
As
to
presented.
approve as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we'll move on to privilege of the floor. This is an opportunity for the public to address the town board for up to 3 minutes on an issue of their choosing. If you are here to speak on the public hearing on the tax, a local law to override the tax levy limit, that's coming next. So this is on, if you want to be a part of that public hearing, that's still coming. But if you have anything else you'd like to address the town board on, we go back and forth in person and then online. If you are interested in speaking online, I'll ask you to come off mute, introduce yourself, and we'll go back and forth. So if you'd like to do that, you can also put a hand up, use the hand up feature. So I know you're interested in speaking in this part or in the public hearing session. So is there anybody in person who wishes to address the town board? Okay, is there anybody online who wishes to address the town board? Okay. Not seeing anybody in either venue. So we will move on to a public hearing. We have a public hearing to be held on a local law to override the tax levy limit established in general municipal law 3-C. It was posted online. Is there a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved. Second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Again, members of the public who wish to speak, we'll go back and forth in person and then online, taking turns, and you may have up to 3 minutes. Is there anybody in person who wishes to address the town board on this subject? Yes,
At the point of order, the public hearing was,
you're absolutely right. The
Yes.
public hearing was noticed at
7:05.
7:05. I apologize. Thank you very much. So I guess for the next minute and a half, I could give you a little information about it. So we'll make sure that everybody has a chance to speak at 7:03 or 7:05. The law that's being proposed is not overriding the budget or is not overriding the tax cap. It is giving the board permission to override it in the budget process if it becomes necessary. For context, the tax cap legislation was passed by New York State a number of years ago, and it follows a percentage increase, whichever is lower, taking into factor inflation, but not taking into consider inflation if the 2%, if the 2% mark is actually lower than inflation. They want you to go for the smaller of the two numbers. And the reality is that the board, or at least I'm considering, as I won't speak for the board, I'm considering approving it, but I'm very interested in hearing from the public, because the sheer fact of the matter is, in order to stay under the tax cap, we would have to keep the increase less than 3%. And I don't know, there's nothing in my shopping cart that is less than gone up less than 3% in the last year, especially in consideration of a variety of issues, including but not limited to the increase in minimum wage, increase in insurance costs, increases that we cannot control in fire and EMS services, which constitute 40% of the town's budget. And those increases are looking this year for the 2025 budget in the range of 10% increases. So we are holding this event today in order to hear from the public on their opinions on the tax cap, and for the town board to consider whether or not it's appropriate to give ourselves the ability to override should it become necessary in the development of the 2025 budget. It is now 7:05 PM, so I will open it to the room. Is there anybody in the room who wishes to address the town board as part of this public hearing? Again, on a local law to override the tax levy limit established in general municipal law. Okay. Is there anybody online who wishes to address the town board on this subject? Okay, you're gonna hear from me a couple more times, because I really do want to make sure that anybody who has a desire to speak on this has the opportunity to speak. Coming back to the room, is there anybody in the room who wishes to address us? Okay, coming back to online, it looks like we have a hand raised. Spencer, would you mind unmuting yourself and telling us who you are? And you may have 3 minutes. I have a timer, so it'll go off when your time is up.
Thank you. Yeah, my name is Spencer Schaffer. I live at 4296 Crumbs Corners Road. I'm a small business owner in the community and I oppose the measure. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anybody in person who wishes to address the town board? Is there anybody online who wishes to address the town board? We have Melissa. I'm sorry, there's a glare, so if I mispronounce your name, I'm sorry. Looks like Melissa to me. Please go ahead.
That's fine. I'm Melissa Littlefield. I'm on 4296 Crumbs Corner Road. And I just wanted to oppose this measure. One of the things that I have concerns about is the fact that there doesn't seem to be a limit on the override, whether either in terms of term limit or in terms of actual spending limit. So I would like to see those two things addressed before I would support something like this potential increase for the tax levy. In addition, I feel like there was a lot of talk early on about how our assessments this year were not going to directly impact taxes. And what we saw with the school board was that it did directly impact taxes. And with this, it sounds like, tax assessments are going to impact taxes, which is what we all expected, but we were told that wasn't going to be the case. So we're seeing it across the board, which is a frustrating thing for a small business owner in the community and a homeowner and a property owner in the community. It feels a lot like there's a push to kind of push residents out, basically. Let's raise the taxes, and people who can't afford it anymore will have to leave and go find somewhere else to live. So I know that sounds extreme, but I do think that there are things going on in the community that aren't being reflected in some of the actions of the board thus far this year. And I find that to be disappointing. So I oppose the new potential law.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who wishes to address the town board on either in person or online? Okay, were there any public comments received? I know you circulated one.
That was the only one.
Final call. I want to make sure everybody has a chance to address us. I appreciate those of you who have taken the time today to be here. Okay. Seeing no other indication that anybody else wishes to address us, and having heard everyone that did indicate they wanted to address us, I'll accept a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. We'll move on to municipal board and staff reports. Staff reports were included in the packet online. Is there, we have Legislator Corman online to address us. It's a beautiful backdrop as always. It looks like today though, that did look like today, just not right now.
Thank you. Right, except for the heron, it was pretty much my view outside my window. So hi everybody. A couple updates. We are in the in budget season at the county, and the county administrators gave us their recommended budget, which would be a 4.3% increase. We also asked them to look at a 2% increase, and either of those is going to be a significant cut still because we haven't raised taxes over or at least the county levy in a few years. So we're going to be looking at some cutbacks there. See, we are reviewing some proposals for emergency sheltering, and it includes what I call regular emergency sheltering and also Code Blue, which some folks might know. That's when we are required by New York State to house folks that here, let me just turn off my video. I'm also in the Trumansburg meeting. Is to house folks when the wind chill drops below 32 degrees. And so we're looking at options for that. We are also looking at a firm to help build our Center for Government downtown. And we are interviewing a couple of firms to help us with that. Sorry, I got quite a few screens here opening, trying to look at all my notes here, just sort through the relevant stuff. One fun thing coming up is Airport Day. That's September 14th, 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the airport, free parking. And there's a pancake breakfast. Their East Hill Flying Club is offering $65 scenic flights, free tethered hot air balloons. I could go on. There's probably about 15 different things going on. Two of the highlights, fun things that I like are the airplane displays and the ice cream food truck and a dunk tank. And let's see what else. Let me pull over another sheet here. Regarding the budget, we're having a couple of public hearings. We expanded this year to make sure we have at least, I won't say ample, there's never ample enough time to get feedback from the community, as you know, but it's always good, as you know, just to at least post public times where people can comment on our budget. And of course, they can always talk to me. But the first public hearing is September 30th at 5:30 p.m. And that's before we get into our many days of voting on the budgets. Let me see if there's anything else. Also regarding the airport, some bad news as far as income and revenue at the airport. We're having some financial concerns there. So we're looking at closing the customs facility section of the airport that was for international flights. Really hasn't been used a whole lot. So we're hoping to save some money there by looking at closing that. And I'd say those are the big things we're working on right now.
Wonderful, thank you. Does anybody on the board have a question for Annie?
Just in terms of the public comment or the public meeting on 9:30 at 5, is that you could join via person or Zoom?
Thanks for asking. Yes, you can contact, you can call the county legislature office to get a link, or you can email the clerks. There's also a way to sign up on our county website. So you can go in person or you can attend via Zoom. And you could also send any of us an email, and I'd be willing to read it for folks.
Thanks. Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, thank you so much for coming tonight. We really appreciate your updates always. Good to hear what the county's up to. Feel your budget pain. Okay, well, we've got two representatives from two different groups or three different groups in the audience. Would either of you like to say anything about what your groups have been up to?
Well, actually, planning board and the comprehensive plan. On both. Planning board is dealing with the regular business, and then there's an agenda item tonight. That's really why I'm here, for
Wonderful.
how we would approach updates to the zoning and that sort of stuff. More of a long range plan than any specific item.
Sounds good.
Yeah, the comprehensive plan's probably gonna start getting fairly busy because, you know, they're looking at trying to start the first wave of updates, so. I expect that's gonna pick up very rapidly.
I agree. Yeah, it's like a roller coaster. We're checking up the hill.
Well,
Yeah.
Considering you've had the board together for a year already, it's good to see real progress.
It absolutely is. Government land is slow land in a lot of ways, but
Do you want me to add to the comp plan?
Sure.
Just, the only two items were, it's not on the agenda tonight because we have a full agenda already. But when we meet on the 24th, there's gonna be two items that we're gonna be bringing some recommendations from the comp plan steering committee. One, we have our public involvement plan, which is we drafted, DEC reviewed, our consultant, MRB reviewed it, and we just finished finalizing most of the edits. But we would like the town board to review it and adopt it. And so we didn't have time because we just had a meeting on Wednesday to get this all information to the group to post on the website for Thursday and get it posted on Friday. So we're gonna be sending you guys information probably the end of this week. So you guys have time before the meeting on the 24th to review the public involvement plan. But it describes who we're gonna be planning on reaching out to, the various ways we're gonna do outreach, the timing for the outreach that from start to finish, we have public involvement. So that'll be coming shortly. And then also on the 24th, there was a recommendation in reviewing some of our website and the functionality of our website and some examples that MRB had of other websites that were specific to comp plans. The comp plan steering committee has recommended that we revise and we look at our communication policy to see if for one time for this comp plan update, we allow MRB to have their own website to manage. It would not be on Caressa to manage, it would be on MRB, but we want to make sure it syncs with our communication policy. So we'll be bringing you some modification to that language for the 24th to discuss on the 24th. But again, that'll be in the materials that we're getting you guys ahead of time. But we are definitely going to be kicking off full steam ahead here in the next month. Our meetings, we've extended to an hour and a half now instead of an hour to make sure we have enough time to go through everything we need to. And I believe the first joint meeting between the comp plan steering committee and the town board that we want to propose and go over some results is December. So we also want to talk about timing for that, in terms of what meeting in December.
we
So-
typically cancel the second.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and the first one's usually pretty busy, so we want to make sure we got on the schedule and give you guys plenty enough time to be able to schedule and be here.
We could also think about looking at a joint meeting, maybe the first week of the month. Because like this past December, for instance, we had a special meeting.
Right.
And so that might be something to look at, because people seem to have more energy at the beginning of the
Yeah.
month than they do towards the end
Okay.
of that month.
Yeah, I knew we usually don't have the second meeting, so we don't want to wait till January.
Mhm.
But
So maybe take that, maybe
we
that.
try to
can
do
go
a
back to
special
the
meeting might
committee.
be the way to do it.
Yeah, maybe a joint meeting that Wednesday,
Okay.
the first Wednesday of December, look at that possibly as a.
Yeah, all right, I'll take that back. Did I have anything else on the comp plan I was supposed to say?
So I think the meetings are currently the first Wednesdays.
Our meetings are.
Right, ours, but it could become then,
That's
that
right.
could be that month's joint meeting.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly, if it works for folks, so I'll get that
Right.
circulated.
Thing for December, earlier to schedule is better than later.
Yeah.
So
We also want to make sure we have stuff to talk about.
Right.
So-
They enroll in
If
January.
we're not gonna cancel,
If we're not getting feedback, then.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's it for comp plan.
Wonderful. Roxanne?
Yeah, so I have, the water source protection plan committee, is moving along, where the group is working on writing the section on, implementation strategies and things that the town has done already and references and pulling those materials together. And the consultant from New York Rural, technical consultant from New York Rural Water is working on the technical aspects that DEC requires to be in the plan for us to get it approved, which mostly just has to do with the municipal water sources. So they're much more focused on that than, you know, even though most of the town is on wells, but we're gonna have all of the well information also in there, so we'll have both of those things. And the DEC folks from Albany are now in town again today. They sampled some more wells, and then tomorrow they're finishing that up, so we'll have another round of 20, between 20 and 25, I can't remember the exact number. So we'll have 50 total, and so then once they get those analyses all put together, they're gonna, you know, give our committee a preliminary report, and then they'll pull them with the other ones into the final report for the town, so that'll be included in the plan, maybe in the appendix or something like that. So learning a lot of interesting things, and I was just talking to someone today who had their well sampled today, and they were really grateful about it and learned things they didn't know. And, you know, we're learning things that people just don't think about that are really obvious. That'll be very helpful to us. And the implementation plan will be a lot of, you know, outreach and education, like materials we could give the public to know how to better protect their water sources. So yeah, that's all been rolling along, and it's been good. And then on the Conservation Sustainability Advisory Committee, we have a meeting tomorrow night, our monthly meeting. And we did submit the 2 grants, and I sent all the information for the town records to you guys on the EV for 50,000 proposal, and the heat pump for the town barn. And we did get, right before we submitted it, the one just rough quote from one installer, which was like 12,400 or something. So obviously we have the other $5,000 too that we got from another Clean Energy Communities Action that we're gonna put towards an EV, but we don't really need. So we have up to 15,000 there. So it seems like we can definitely cover that with grant monies. And so that check, I believe, has been mailed. Maybe you got it already. I don't know. I sent you an email about it.
I don't think we've seen it yet.
No, well, they sent a notice that you should have gotten too, Caitlin.
I didn't get it directly. Yeah, and I'm glad you sent it.
Okay, because you're supposed to get them too. I filled out both of our names, and you're the person who signs the contracts, and also, anyway, I'll keep sending it.
I'll leave it hot in my filter. I'll double check.
Yeah, well, that's all right. I can just keep sending them on, but since I was the one who submitted it, I get the notices. And so, yeah, so they said that was approved, the 10,000 one, and they said that they were sending a check, so should get that money so we could start the process of looking for, before it gets too cold, and then they're in higher demand for, working with Scott, or however I can help. I know, you know, have Michelle still yet, and very much, or maybe she can help a little, but, and Chris and I could help with that if you need it, but to get that rolling. And there's also an insulation quote on there that was roughly $2,000, so, anyway, so that's all that. And then I haven't heard yet on the 50,000 proposal that it's been approved. And then we said by today we would try to submit those other 2 action items that would qualify us, make us eligible for the 100,000 grant the board had approved us to. And so we have one of those done. That's all these lovely signs hanging up about the heat pumps and all. That was part of, that's what we had to do for that, and submit that. And then the other one, there's some around the water, and there's information out there. Yeah, it's called a municipal clean heating and cooling demonstration. So you make signs and you hang them up and you take photos and you get points. We did that. And so the other one, it's actually interesting. That one gives you 300 points. And the other one, which is benchmarking, which is you have to gather 2 years worth of utility bills, which has been a nightmare. Chris has been helping me a lot, and Casey. And you have to run this report, which is in this other program, which Chris is working on. And then you have to post it on the website, which I'm gonna tell people, so you know that we're gonna post our energy report for 2 years. And you do all that and you get 300 points. So anyway, but once that's done, which it almost is, Chris and I just have to do a couple of other things and then give the report to be posted. We can submit that action, and then we'll just wait to get eligibility for that other grant. So that's all moving along.
Great, thank you very much for all the work you and Chris are putting into it, so I appreciate it very much. So, other reports. What your committees are up to.
There was an ag meeting last night.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you for the information on the Caroline
Yeah, I mean, it's an
farm
idea.
celebration.
It's sort of a positive idea.
Yeah. So we're hoping that once this comp plan starts moving, we're gonna get some more feedback and participation
From the ag.
from the ag community.
They're a busy community.
Yeah, we had some good discussions about PFAS last night.
But only 2 people.
Yeah, it
showed
was
up
just
besides
PFAS.
us. So it's one of the smaller committees that
Opposed to,
I
as
attend
opposed to the
meetings for.
yeah. You also chair the largest committee though. So you see both ends of the spectrum. Is anything happening with the bee, community?
Actually, no, we haven't really been since August, July. Yeah, we didn't have a meeting this month. Or last month.
Sounds good. I can report on youth commission. The youth commission had a couple of meetings since our last town board meeting. And they were budget focused meetings, and the last meeting was last Tuesday. So that was the 3rd, right? The 3rd. And the town, the village and school reps unanimously supported the budget as presented. There's one of the big savings overall, even though costs are rising because some costs are rising because of staffing. And the upward pressure of minimum wages impacts those departments. But to put a comparison, what we're doing, because we took over, the town took over with participation from the village, obviously from a funding standpoint, we took over youth development. And this is our first full year we're running it for 2024. I'm sorry, for 2025, we're gonna be coming in at about $54,000 to run that program, and that includes staff and programs and all the activities related to it. And Cornell Cooperative, who was previously running that program for the same program, obviously under Cornell's auspices through CCE, it's a $63,000. So that's the cost difference in 2025. So we're seeing the costs coming to the board would have been significantly higher if we were still pursuing contracts there. So bringing it in-house has resulted in some fairly sizable savings. $9,000 is not nothing out of that budget. So
That includes the employment.
that
program?
does not include the wages for youth employees, but it includes everything else. It includes running the program. It includes staff, it includes all the activities that happen as a result of that program. So that's and it'll be part of the full budget, but there was a lot of talk. We're trying to keep it as manageable as possible. So it's a parallel to what Cornell Cooperative would have been offering. And so that was that took many hours, youth development. Or with the youth commission. And then we also have had a Three Falls LDC meeting. And we are assured that all the paperwork is being assigned, and it's just.
We're close.
We're close. I know you've heard this before, but we are
We're
also
close,
here.
we're close.
We're even
Months
closer.
and months and
Closer.
months.
We're even closer. And again, I think some of the holdups is they're trying to like solidify the name. And which we have no say in. So I mean, it's not our responsibility. You know, everything in government land. And so all of a sudden, that roller coaster, we're gonna be on that roller coaster.
Yeah.
So from a timing standpoint, it's actually a lot better to take over the property at the
Yeah,
end.
at the end of the year.
At the end of the year, so I don't have any sadness about that. It's much better to do it at the end of the season. But the relationship between the LDC and the Boy Scouts in New York State is all, or the Boy Scout Council and the LDC in New York State is in very good shape, I would say. Fred Bond came to talk to us about it, and the perception that he shared from State Parks is that things are going very well. So, anything I'm missing on that?
No.
Okay, Michael, did you have any updates?
Yeah, so the Jacksonville Park, Nancy toured me through their restrooms. So they've made great progress this season, and she's like the proud mommy of the project they've done in the park there. It looks very nice. They've got a few more things to do, so that was, nice to go through. Again, she was very proud about it, and it does look really nice. So if you guys have a chance to go over there and look at it, they've done nice work in there.
Yep, I was there about a
Yeah.
month ago, but it was not finished at that point.
Yeah. I think there's a little bit more they want to do, so. But it's functional.
That's great.
Yeah.
It did not have its fixtures attached. when I
Yeah,
was
they're
there. It was
attached, so, yeah.
unattached fixture.
So-
Great. Okay, Krista, was there anything you wanted to mention that's not in your report?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, wonderful. Then we can keep moving forward. The next item is under old business. It's the discussion with a resolution attached is a local law to override the tax levy limit established in general municipal law. 3C. It's a standalone resolution. Created by the town attorney, opposed to written by me.
You need a motion.
Yeah, I need a motion and a second, and we can discuss. Is there a
So-
motion to approve?
Move to approve the
Second.
resolution approving local law number 2-2024.
Second one of the year. Any discussion?
Well, I mean, I think we should just make it clear, we usually in the past have not done this, but because of the pressures on wages and everything you said, we really have to do this.
Yeah.
It's not that I just want the public to know, we're not doing it to increase the benefit of for anything other than keeping
Yeah.
the payrolls we have in
Right, the
past.
fire and EMS. is
Yeah, fire and
under
EMS.
pressure as
I
well.
mean, that's 10%.
And health
Which is out of our
insurance
control.
is 14%. Health insurance.
Health insurance, yeah. Yeah, we're gonna talk about that in the section, Liz, gonna talk about that.
And just to confirm again for the public, this is just overriding it for this year.
Right.
So if looking at the budget for 2025. At this time next year, we'll be looking at the budget for 2026, and if we want to override it again, we'd have to go through this whole process again.
Right, and this also doesn't, this doesn't mean that the budget will be over the tax limit or the 2%.
Well,
I mean, I will be very honest when I say in order to come in under the tax limit this year, we'd have two options, which is really to sizably cut into fund balance in a way that I think would be going against policy and would be an inappropriate use of fund balance. Fund balance there's no savings in the town, but it's money, it's one-time money it should be used for one-time purposes. It should not be used for ongoing expenses related to like personnel and things like that. If you get into a habit of using one-time money for ongoing expenses, at some point you're gonna have to pay the piper, and that will result in job losses. That's just long term, that's exactly where, if the places where the town can cut, we will cut, and we took a first pass, my office took a first pass, and we're bringing it as lean as we can get it. We are looking for every opportunity to save money. Bringing youth development in-house right there was $9,000 off the budget. And just for the public's awareness, overriding the tax cap by 1% is only, and I appreciate that it's not a small number, it's $16,000. We're overriding it by 2% is $32,000. In one section of wages, because we were finalizing a contract with unionized employees. One section of wages on that, simply in salary, to bring our wages to be in keeping with those of other municipalities in Tompkins County, is $33,000, not counting benefits, right? So when you're saying it's 32,000, like that's where it's coming in. When you're saying fire and EMS, which constitute 40% of our town budget, is coming in at 10% higher than last year. We can't say like, we're not gonna provide fire service. We could say we're not gonna provide ambulance service, but I don't hear anybody asking. No one has begged me to get rid of ambulance service. So when we're feeling those upward pressures, we're gonna talk about healthcare when premiums are going up 14%. these are pressures we we're not immune to. And they're coming year, and the pressures on some of these budgets are going up year after year. So we're trying to do as much as we can, as prudently as we can, to maintain the level of service. And it's not a fun resolution to pass, but it's a resolution that I think is necessary to pass to allow us the ability to consider raising it in the budget. This resolution does not override the tax levy. It enables us the ability to override the tax levy for the 2025 budget. So. Any other thoughts?
Well, and
comments?
we'll also be having budget hearings. and-
Yes, we will have budget hearings. This week alone, there was 14 hours of town board meetings scheduled. If there's a town board, for yesterday's meeting, we had 3 people, so it was a town board meeting. But we're, doing line by lines on the budget this week and a meeting next week. And then it'll come back to the town board, on the 24th, is the intention to, present the tentative town budget. So we'll start budget process there, but and the public can always comment. They can send in letters to the clerk's office, which is clerk@townofUlyssesNY.gov. It's right on our website. You can attend, town board meetings, and speak in public comment. You can attend, there will be a public hearing on it. So we really do value the public's insight and opinion. And if this is not something that's being done lightly, I'm very proud of the fact that we have been the town of Ulysses has had the lowest tax rate of any municipality in Tompkins County now for a number of years, and we may very well continue
we still might.
We still might. We're one of the few towns that hasn't had to break the tax levy or has break the tax cap yet. So we're not doing it lightly if we do it. Any further comment before we vote? Okay, then I'll call for a vote. We have a motion and a second, so I'll call the question. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Oh,
Hearing none,
sorry.
it,
What?
I was reading something, I didn't say aye.
oh, I'm
I'm
sorry.
sorry. Did you need this signed, Caitlin?
Actually, no, this one, it's the certification is done by Carissa, or do you don't need it, this one signed? No, she'll handle certification on this. Okay, next up is keeping 2025 town budget updates, and so we
Kind of just did that.
we did. I mean, I think Liz wanted to
I just want to give everybody that
an
heads
update.
up. So we had an introduction to the Health Consortium's proposed budget for 2025. And they are looking at a 14% increase in premiums. That's from just the increases over the last 5 to 10 years that they've looked at is more on the lines of 4 to 5%. So they're looking at this as kind of a one-time catch up, and then it should go down again. We'll see. This is my first year on this, so I don't know if that's actually
Do they have big
feasible.
Do they have big reserves still?
Yeah.
Because that
They have
was your concern.
massive reserves, and I have a
Massive, yeah, they have massive.
I have a presentation I can send you guys, then Rich, I would love to sit and talk with you
Okay.
about it.
All right.
But we are meeting to vote on the 26th. So I'm bringing this up now. We have a couple more budget meetings this week and next week.
26.
26th of September is the board directors meeting where we have to elect whether to accept or deny the 14% increase. So I'd like feedback. I mean, to me, that sounds like a significantly high amount. We are getting more numbers. I think there's more municipalities, 5 or 6 more municipalities that have joined over the last couple of months with 1,000 more staff members.
Wow.
So we're up to 7,200 now, but the claims have gone up significantly, is what they're saying for one of their justifications. It's just they're seeing like 25% increases in the number of claims over the past
From the
year.
new participants?
No,
or-
from everybody, like current. Everybody's going to the doctor now,
Well,
so.
If you can get into the doctor.
Yeah.
My question was, so with Rich, maybe you can answer this, if have you been around for them voting down, for voting no on an increase? And then what happens? What
They've never
happens
voted
next?
no.
They've never.
Yeah.
voted.
We had
Okay.
one negotiation a few years ago where we had a holiday in the last month of the year because we had such big reserves
I remember that.
and not a lot of claims. We waived
I remember
the
that,
premium
yeah.
for a month.
Yeah.
For December. So we have done that in the past. But
Doesn't sound like we're there.
it doesn't sound like we're gonna do, we
Sounds like
can
it's
do,
the
no,
It sounds like they'd like to bill us for an extra month.
right,
yeah.
that's right.
Yeah.
So I'm concerned about, again, we talked about this yesterday, I think. There's still no provision for a couple, a married couple. Premium that isn't a family plan.
Yeah.
They don't have that category, which is ridiculous.
I am curious on that and I'm gonna email.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
So it's
It's the
ridiculous.
cheaper, there's no children on it, so.
Right, but if you have no children, you have to get a family
It's either
plan,
single,
which is way more
or
expensive
family.
than if you cover just two people.
Right.
there's no options.
And I've asked this before, and never gotten a good answer as to why not. They said it's complicated. It's not, I know that it's complicated.
I mean, I know my plan to work has that option.
Right, yeah, every other plan I've ever seen has that option.
First.
I don't use that
Cornell
option.
doesn't.
Cornell doesn't?
Oh, really?
You don't have a married couple,
No,
not
Wendy,
part of
Wendy
the
and I are
association,
like
right?
two single plans.
because you,
It's cheaper.
than a family plan?
Yeah.
We have it too. We have two individuals.
Yeah,
'cause
same
it's
thing.
cheaper than family and
Well,
there's
that's
no
ridiculous.
couple. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think the arts or the cows have.
No.
Yeah.
Well, we'll look into it.
Anyway.
I can
Right.
ask again.
Are they working on trying to,
They had
Put the lid on it?
presented, they had presented an option where they looked at a 10% increase. But they're recommending the 14%.
Well, I mean, you could vote it down. If it gets voted down, they'll have to lower the increase until it gets passed. There's plenty. I mean, the last time I looked, there was a huge amount of reserves, fund balance, multi-millions. I mean,
There
like,
definitely looks like there's a lot of
multi-million,
money.
like 38 million, I mean.
There is
Mm.
also just, I mean, as part of the health plan, there's gonna be some more support. So they're really increasing the mental awareness and health benefits. So a lot of the, when you call in, if you need to talk to somebody, it's gonna be free now. So they are trying to increase some of the coverage, but it
doesn't
still is
help-
going up
Doesn't help the
14%.
budget.
So
So I think we should, I mean, we don't have enough time to adopt, and we should look at, just get another quote. I probably, we've done that once before. But we would-
to counter for just the
Yeah.
town.
Yeah,
I mean, we're not gonna have that before.
no, we're not
Yeah.
gonna have it before,
Yeah,
but for next year. I would just like to get a quote,
Yeah,
so we can see what the competition.
and again, they said next year they should expect to go back down under
To
the
the full, yeah.
single digit increases. This is a
One time,
catch up, but
right,
it's a lot for a year to catch up. And plus, on top of that, it's the EMS and everything else we're
yeah.
dealing with is just seems to be this year's, every year, everybody wants to catch up. Well,
right.
well, that's
how
the
can we
purpose.
stagger it?
That's the purpose of fund balance really should be to help smooth out, so
Yeah.
you're not doing jarring increases. I mean, that's one of the reasons I'm supporting the override is because. We could deliver a budget that's under the tax cap, but that's gonna be a big cost later. I'd
Right.
rather recognize our ongoing costs and reflect them correctly.
Yeah.
So. Ouch. Okay, so we have another meeting before, if you'd like a resolution think about whether or not you'd prefer to have a resolution from the town board directing you how to vote, or we just, I personally, I think I'm comfortable with you voting as a representative. Based on the information that you have.
And if you guys need more information on that, I can send it to you.
Would you mind sending that out?
Forward it out right now.
Yeah, I think it would be good in case anybody else wants to look through it.
It's an 84-page.
give a summary?
Oh, I was actually looking for it.
Do we have slides? Like you mentioned,
It's
it's
84
84
pages,
slides.
an 84 slide document. It was fun to look through.
Let's Weatherby. notes
Just
for-
wording for it.
Okay, well, that's all I had on the budget updates. I do want to note that the upcoming events, I did say that the meetings, the budget meetings at Town Hall are at 8 AM. They're actually at 9 AM. So apologies for that. It's correct online. But that's just a typo on my side. I was thinking they started at 8 AM. I was delighted to discover it was actually 9. So, with that, we can move on to, the introduction of a local law, Board of Zoning Appeals zoning code amendment. And the potential of, scheduling a, public hearing on that. This is, something that was, requested, by the Board of Zoning Appeals. And I did print it out for your packet, but it was posted online. The chair, this has been discussed at, the BZA meeting. At least one, Niels, the town planner is also online. Thank you for being here. But the chair did provide a memo, that was included in the packet. The BZA's, his interpretation has been supportive, of this, change. Basically, this, kind of mirrors how the planning board, public notification, happens, it improves public notification. So notice of the public hearing shall, in addition to all the requirements for publication of a hearing notice pursuant to the laws of New York State, be posted on the subject property in a manner that is readily visible to the public from the nearest adjacent public road at least 10 days prior to a subsequent public hearing. So if you drive down Ulysses Road, sometimes you'll see signs that there's a public hearing being scheduled for the planning board. The BZA basically wants parity. That I think it makes sense. It's something that we have like reusable ones, signs for the planning board. So if a property owner needs to have it posted, they can borrow a sign from us to post on their property, and then something similar would be created. Niels, does that cover everything that you wanted? Or did I do an adequate job?
Great job. Nothing to add. The only reason why we're looking at later in October is to provide ample time for the county to provide any comments.
Okay.
So it's a fairly simple amendment, but it has been requested by the BZA. So with the resolution, and I'm happy to, why don't I read it and then we can have any comment discussion. Whereas a local law entitled Board of Zoning Appeals zoning code amendment was introduced at this meeting as shown in Exhibit A attached here too. And whereas the town board desires to hold a public hearing with respect to the adoption of said local law, now therefore be it resolved that a public hearing will be held by the town board of the town of Ulysses with respect to the adoption of the aforesaid local law on October 8th, 2024 at 7 p.m. or as soon thereafter as can be heard. And it is further resolved that the town clerk is hereby authorized and directed to cause public notice of said hearing to be given as provided by law.
Second.
Thank you. Is there any comment or discussion on that?
Turning out to be a busy meeting for the town clerk.
It is. It is.
At least tasks for tomorrow.
Is that a comment for the record?
I think this makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
They've been talking about it for a while.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's
Makes
nothing new.
complete sense. Yeah, exactly. Okay, well, great. Then I will call the motion. All those in favor?
All right.
Aye.
And
Any
again-
opposed?
Again, would she need initials on that or not? You're good?
Nope, we're good. These are versions that are provided by, I have the attorneys put together ones that are local laws for fear of drastically harming our said law. So they always include that for the certification. These aren't ones that do have to be, these are not by roll call.
All right, next.
Next up, and I'm gonna pass to Niels. I'm gonna pass this to you and Carissa to kind of explain how we got to where we are today. This is an introduction of a local law, park recreation zone zoning code amendment. Niels, would you mind explaining?
How we got here?
Yeah, how we got here.
So I'll defer a little bit to Carissa just to correct me, but the town received some grant money, I believe, funneled from the county for the Sail Habitat project. So the discussion first started with work and trying to work around streams and wetlands that we knew were on site. And then it came to light that the town, when it acquired the property, didn't go through all the hoops and hurdles it needed to when it went through the rezone. So it acquired Sail Habitat roughly around the same time as the zoning update in 2019 and the zoning map update. At the time, the area was zoned residential. which permitted parks but required a special property use permit for parks in the rec zone. So my presumption is when the town acquired the property and then rezoned it in 2019 to parks, they didn't really capture the need to amend the section of the zoning code for park rec zones to allow by right park and rec uses. Most zoning codes that I've worked with, if I can use an analogy, it's like requiring a special use permit for a residential dwelling unit in a residential zone. It's a bit overkill. So the presumption on my part is that when the town rezoned the area to park and rec use, they intended that park and rec use should be a permitted use. What happens in this case is special property uses require public hearing and approval by the planning board prior to any action on that subject site. So when this came to light, we talked with town legal, and there's two options. We can amend the zoning code, or the town can override the zoning code. And we felt to go this route instead, to change this, because there are currently 7 different properties in the town zoned park and rec, and if any of them come across the same situation, they will have to go through a special use permit and a hearing with the planning board in order to have a park use in a park zone.
Right.
So currently the only permitted use in a park zone is farm operation?
That is correct. So I'll say that
That
this
makes-
is a Band-Aid. This is just a Band-Aid. I think the question, is a farm operation really an applicable use in a park and rec zone? I think that's a much broader topic, and there's a lot of things that we can fix in the park and rec zone, but this literally is just a Band-Aid in order to get, Carissa and her committee to move forward with the Salo project.
My question too. Okay.
Yeah, so the zoning code is one of those things that where you find one issue, many others follow, you start pulling those threads and then you don't have a sweater. So what we'd like to do is try to stay in our lanes and respect the comp plan update process and then the zoning update, and this is a real light touch on something just because we got $5,000 and we'd like to spend it, and it becomes a lot more complicated if it's a special use, as opposed to no, this is meant to be a park. It was zoned a park. It's recognized as a park. Let's treat it like a park.
Is
in the
it
code.
something in the future where it seems like that could be struck out some other time?
Yes, I think, but that's, I do think it's one of those, it's that does start raising other questions and it may cause feelings and opinions, and we figured this one was a very, was truly as light a touch as we could do.
This
So-
isn't just for Salem, this is for the other.
All
corners
7,
we
Right,
have. All
exactly,
7. Yeah,
Yeah, you're allowing parks in a park zone.
right.
right,
Right.
yes.
Right.
Which again, we're pretty sure it was a mistake that it wasn't.
Right.
I don't think anybody would be like, well, are you sure you want that park in this park zone? No,
All right.
so,
So we moved in second.
Yeah.
We
Not yet.
discussed,
no,
We have to-
we discussed first. and then
yeah, we
second.
discussed first, we're
I
breaking the
have a
rules.
question,
Is there a motion we can get any further discussion? Is there a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Thank you.
Second.
Okay, any further comment? This will schedule the public hearing for October 8th.
Should we do this one at 7:05 or 7:10?
It doesn't, you can
It doesn't.
start it later, you just can't start it earlier, so
Okay.
I'm very glad Krista caught me, I appreciated the point of order, thank you very much. So I think we're fine if we keep it at 7, and if we started it at 7:05 or 7:0, whatever.
It's gonna be busy.
It is, there's also gonna be budget information, so bring your coffee. Or,
Okay, let's move on.
oh, no, all those in
Gotta
favor?
vote.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, and then, the next one is, appointments to the planning board. We've got a little handout for this. Do you wanna, anybody?
Well, we had
What
two,
do you think?
we had interviews with these 2 people. I was at both of them. Neil was at both of them. I think both candidates are really good. They have experience. one is gonna be for an alternate, the other one's gonna be for the replacing Rebecca's seat. So I'll move the motion to appoint Jeff
So-
McDonald, yeah.
I'll second it and we have the discussion.
Yeah, so I thought that, they were both pretty qualified.
Yeah,
They're also both village residents. Which.
no, Simon lives on Halseyville Road.
Oh,
No, not yet.
He's going, oh, he's
He's
closing.
Will
on-
be, yeah.
Oh,
He's
he's-
closing on a house in.
oh, so
Oh,
he's
yeah.
living in the villages temporarily.
Right,
Okay,
right.
okay. I'm not opposed, but it just seemed to me that two
Two from the.
village
Right.
residents would be a
Right.
lot.
Yeah, no, good point.
You have to keep your eye on those village residents.
Yeah.
Well, the planning,
Yeah, they
I
have a
appreciate
different
that.
view of
I was
things.
making a joke, yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, well, I think, and I'm appreciative for both of them and to everybody who went through the interview process, thank you. Mr. McDonald is a retired landscape architect. And Mr. Bernard has a degree in planning, a master's degree in
Right.
planning, so I mean, I'm excited that they're gonna bring their professional
Yeah.
experience to the planning board and yeah, so we still have one alternate seat open.
But the truth is, we've never, almost never in my 10, 11 years, have filled the two alternate seats.
I don't know, there's always seems we have the one open, but
And we could.
you have indicated that you and
It's your job to keep them. Carl.
an environmental position.
Right.
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 So,
We want somebody who's got environmental experience for that second alternate position.
Think somebody with some stormwater
Yeah,
background would be ideal to have,
yeah.
or. I don't know.
have to keep moving in the interim.
Carl's all over that.
You're on stormwater, no, he's on wetlands.
Okay,
so I think Bernard's name is spelled. two N's.
Actually,
Yeah.
it's a two N's. Oh, it is. You know what? Autocorrect did that then.
Yeah.
Because I had it spelled correctly when I wrote it and
So hate spell corrector.
it also doesn't look like my eyes,
That's
so
not
I'm
what I
not
said.
sure. So I apologize. For the record, it will be corrected. Thank you very much for catching that. I'm like, no, I know I spelled it correctly. No, I did not. Anyway, okay, so any further discussion? Then I'll call the question. All those in favor? Aye. And thank you to all for participating. And then the final item under new business is an interfund loan. That basically so this is for Curry Road, it's an interfund loan from DA 232, which to DA 883, Bridge Repair Reserve Fund to Capital Fund HA for seed money for the Curry Road Bridge Replacement Project. So the town received 1.5 million for this project, but we need cash available for cash flow in order, because there's reimbursement and all of this good stuff. So they don't just give us a check for 1.5 million and tell us to go spend it. So we have to borrow money, and we can borrow money from ourselves. And so this is what is authorized. It's a temporary loan of up to $150,000. It's what our budget officer, Lucy Tate, thinks she thinks it's gonna come in less than that. But she'd like to authorize it just so we can make sure that we can pay the bills as we go along until we can start. The way the reimbursement goes is we pay and then we submit and they send part of the money, and then we pay and we submit and they send part of the money. So it's not that we have to spend $1.5 million up front and then get $1.5 million back. The goal is to get down to a very small, maybe, $10,000, $20,000 final reimbursement. So that we're not carrying a lot of money, but this is to keep the cash flow going. Any questions?
So
Is there a motion?
so moved.
Second, any further discussion or comment? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. And again, at the upcoming events, those two budget meetings, and then we actually have another budget meeting that's not listed on the schedule that is next, line by line. It's next Wednesday, the 18th, from 9 to 11. But again, those are posted on the website. We do not have minutes for this meeting. I'm correct in saying that, right?
Correct.
Correct. Carissa has been doing has had a lot to do. And so thank you for continuing to keep the office running. So we will bring more minutes back at another meeting. I don't have any board notifications. We do have budget modifications that were distributed tonight. They were posted on the website earlier today. First item up is A fund, budget modifications, related to, moving 13,200 from the contingency account into the attorney line to cover, complaint investigation. The second one is, at the second meeting, I believe it's the 25th of July, the town board authorized using ARPA funds to cover the scoping costs related to some of the projects we did, the safety parking lot, those ones, we approved that. So this is the budget modification reflecting those approvals. The,
What's happening with the?
we are going to, well, as my own current deputy, I'm attending meetings with Barton and LaJudas. And so, right now we're in the phase of, reaching out, scheduling a meeting with the adjacent neighbors, because that's their desire to participate will impact the design. And then we're moving on a rapid schedule that will result in us having a contract with somebody before the end of this calendar year. Come hell or high water, we're gonna make sure we do. So we have to.
Right.
So we will, therefore. So it looks like we're looking at the week of September 23rd to offer a time for the adjacent property owners. Not this property owner, but adjacent in terms of contiguous with our parking lot. To have an opportunity to meet with the town attorney and most importantly, the engineers. To decide whether or not they're interested in participating in a joint project, because we're only gonna be spending money on our property, but there are some costs in design and things like that that another adjacent property owner could benefit from that we have to pay for regardless.
Right.
So,
Okay.
and then on the basis of that, we'll be able to, the design can be developed. Because it'll impact, how the drainage in particular is gonna be the big difference depending on if new paving section's happening in conjunction with ours. Then the third item is highway administrative personnel. We're moving money. I'm working with the highway department because it's all in the A fund. I had savings in the supervisor's office, and we're using that to push into highway administration to fund an administrative position there. Any questions on A fund? Okay, B fund modifications. We are just reallocating funds between the attorney, B fund attorney expenses and planning and zoning. We have a plan, this is the first year we have a planning and zoning designation for legal in the B fund, and what has become readily apparent is most of the money for the B fund in attorney use is related to planning and zoning. That's just,
That's
so
what you would think. I
it
mean,
is what you
yeah.
think. And so we're gonna maintain this because out of the B fund actually will come like special projects like the comp plan, things like that. But I really, when we talk to the attorney, it's almost always in the B fund, it's almost exclusively planning and zoning. So, but that's why we're moving money. It's all attorney money in the B fund. It's just which line is it going into? And then the water administration support in the B fund. There is about 1 hour of time per week dedicated in administration for water under the B fund. And this money is the $600. It's being pulled out of the contingency account to cover that in that administrative position. We have an administrative position. So the public's interest, we have an administrative position that's funded out of a variety of different accounts. So any B fund questions?
Why Is the administration, water administration B fund not in the water?
We do have it in Water District 3, but what Water District B Fund, water for 1 hour is doing things. Like when we get requests from the public, oh, I want to hook up to water, there's time being spent that we can't charge Water District 3. So I have spent a bit of my time doing that, shepherding through, although it's hit a stop, not because of the town, but because of the property owner, financial reasons or whatever, with the creation of a new water district. I've been the one shepherding that project through, and so I'm it's certainly not the first time the town has shepherded through a water district, but I shouldn't be the person doing it in the foreseeable future, so I'm creating the process, and then the idea is that an administrative person can actually take it over and just manage making sure that all the escrow agreement is signed and all of these different things. So that would be a B fund activity. The good news about that is once the town gets to the point where it's authorizing the preliminary creation of that water district, the town would actually be able to recoup some of the costs associated with hours billed against it, potentially. And then it becomes a new water district bill that's paid by that new water district. But there is preliminary administrative work. That's why we're only doing it for 1 hour. So it's 52 hours a year. We also passed the water policy. We passed a water policy. The town board adopted it. There have been questions that I've been fielding. What I'd like to do is get up something on the website that's a lot more explanatory so that when the public does have questions, as I'm assuming they will, as a result of maybe their well testing, they have a place to go that's a landing page of what the town can do. So there's a way that administrative position can support that. So that's the logic there.
Okay.
Great question though, thank you. And then Water District 3 budget modifications. There was a purchase of a chlorine pump and additional supplies that were passed on to us via Bolton Point. And we have to pay for those things. So we're pulling money out of the contingency in order to cover those expenses. So any questions on that? Pretty straightforward mostly.
So moved.
Number 2,
Yes.
they're both increase.
Oh, that should be a decrease.
Is-
So it's coming out of engineering. I'm sorry, it's increasing in engineering contractual, thank you, and decreasing in
Well, it went from 15 to 1790. Is that right? Because sometimes it is increase. But
it might, hold on.
Yeah, it might be.
I mean,
You're getting the money in to cover the.
oh, right,
expense.
so we're
because,
putting money
So-
into ARPA.
Yeah, we're recognizing the ARPA
Yes.
funds as revenue because we're gonna spend it. A lot of that money's just sitting.
Yeah.
It's, I don't know, it's in liability account or something, so.
right, and it's
And we only recognize the revenue when
when we accept it,
When we
basically.
spend it. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're right, it is an increase.
Is
Thank
it?
you for that
Okay, that's great.
clarification.
Yeah.
Right, and then the other question in 1. So how much was the investigation for me, for the attorney? Who's curious.
I don't have an exact number. It's at least in the range of 15,000. Possibly more.
Right.
But I could pull that together.
All my questions.
Sure.
The vote.
That's right.
One motion.
Yeah, I
Do
need
we have a second?
Second,
We have a
yeah.
second. Okay. Any further comment or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And then, payment of audit of claims. Marissa emailed it, and we also have a hard copy. Any questions on the audit, on the claims? If not, I'll read the resolution. Resolved, the Ulysses Town Board approves the following payment of audited claims for the HA Fund voucher number 3 for $1,663.55. And for A-SW funds, A through SW funds, vouchers 425 through 470 for 97,100.
79.
I'm sorry,
70.
thank you.
Hmm.
$79,109.98. Thank you. writing some numbers or adding them.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor? Aye. Okay. And that brings us back to privilege of the floor. Is there any, we'll go back to our, so I'm gonna get my timer going. Is there anybody in person who would like to address the town board?
This kind of support, trying to get someone on the planning board, even as a second alternate for now, who has a good background in water, possible
Yeah.
stormwater, water, all the wetlands, the stuff
Yeah.
that Rebecca was really strong on. It's a big part of our town.
Yeah,
And so maybe put it in the newsletter, you know, that you're looking particularly for someone to serve as an alternate on the planning board who has those
Yeah.
areas of expertise.
Great idea.
yeah,
Would be good. And, you know, it might take a while, but at least be out there.
yeah.
So,
Thank you.
It's a lot of water interest. in town.
Sure is.
No one on our committee is gonna join another one.
One other item, Caitlin. You hit, this was in the packet from, that Carl had done. I just want to recognize, he's been here, so I just want to recognize that.
Right.
Oh, sure, Carl, you did supply, there was a planning board memo, did you, want to speak on it at all?
Well, it's a follow-up to your July meeting where you specified we want to come into this ad hoc committee for if we're going to start addressing zoning changes. And certainly they keep jumping up. And I think looking at what happened and talking to folks and reading, I spent a good bit of time reading through the last zoning update, the steering committee you had for it, their meeting minutes. And seeing a lot of changes that actually came out, you know, everything seemed to be rushed at the end. And a lot of that coming through. And I know I talked to Mo Klein, who was on the planning board at the time, and said a lot of the stuff the planning board recommended never made it through. I would like to take advantage of the 2 to 3 years that we're probably looking at before the next zoning update to tackle some of these ugly ones. You know, and spend some time and actually get the details together. You know, this streams issue right now in our zoning are defined as USGS, intermittent and perennial streams. If you go to everything that Niels presents to us, he's using the GIS data that's now electronically available. That adds about 60 more intermittent streams to the town. And particularly for the lakeshore zone, it goes from about 30 properties affected to 120 properties affected. Some cases on both boundaries is the same property. We as a town, and I think the planning board in particular, need to get time to get into these details and get a hold of the stakeholders and start thrashing some of this stuff out. This may take 6 months to a year to try and come to a consensus. And that doesn't fit well with the time frame normally for trying to do a zoning update. So some of these ugly items, I would like to see us working on ahead of time. And that's really what I'm looking for, is permission for the planning board to tackle these items. And we're looking for direction from the town boards, from the town planner, our code enforcement, the BZA. You know, what are the real ugly ones out there that are driving us crazy on a day-to-day basis? And start looking at them and figuring out the details. Not that we're going to actually implement the change on a short order basis. It's more to start banking the details that we as the town's representatives have come pretty much to a consensus. So when whoever marks up the next zoning update has a whole bunch of these things already to put into that markup that's already been sold to the stakeholders to try and make it work smoother. And then we got the time in here to do it, and I would like, you know, the rest of the planning board members support me on this to say, we want to start tackling these things one at a time and work our way through it. And
What do
so-
you need from us?
What?
What do you need from us?
Permission.
Well, permission to, that's really what this is to say, because what I got from Caitlin's response was that we don't want you working on it without permission from the town board. And so really, what I'm looking for is a way that we this is how we're going to do it. If it comes up and we look at it, we want to dig into it some ahead of time to make sure that it makes sense before I waste your deputy's time and Niels's time and that scheduling an ad hoc committee meeting to say, this is what we want permission to formally work on. I
Yeah,
wanna have a pretty solid detail of what we're doing before I waste people's time.
Yeah,
and I think, and I'm not opposed to doing it, I'm simply looking at it from the standpoint of, is that how much staff time will you need, and staff or financial resources of the town?
And
And I've got a planner who's running a comp plan this year
Right.
with a lot of other responsibilities, and so I think what would be really helpful is having a sense of how much manpower, because it may for us require us to hire somebody else to provide support. And so if that becomes where there's only so much that we can put on a planner's plate, and I want to make sure that everything that needs to be done is getting done. I'm not suggesting it's not important. I just think that if the town board wants to take action, the way to increase a plate size is to fund it. You have to fund a bigger plate. And we can't fund necessarily a bigger plate in the planner's position, but I would be willing to have a conversation about what it looks like, because it may be a situation where you don't need a ton of planning of our planner's time to start looking at different things.
And that's really, I think at this point is the planning board would do the bulk of the work up front on this. You know, put the details together, and I don't mind taking the effort to talk to people individually to figure out what the problems are out there and gather them up so that we have an idea of what the scope of stuff is that we could potentially look at and look through there and see which ones make the most sense to tackle. Yeah, and at this point, I'm really not looking to tie up any more deals with time. He's busy up past his years
Yeah.
already, supporting a
I'm
lot
glad
of
you know
folks.
it,
And with the comp plan coming through, a lot of this stuff may get tabled from meeting to meeting just because other stuff came in on the regular planning board meeting, and we'll just roll it that way if we need to. But I would like permission to start really looking into this kind of sort of a 3 to 5 year plan type for the update on the code and that, to try and fix things that we know are problems now that we definitely want to fix. You know, tonight's thing, you know, this one line change, but there's stuff in there that could need a lot more attention than that. You know, and some of this, we've got development districts that have been defunct for 10 or 15 years. Do we make the change at some point that say if it's been, the business went away and you got 3 years to figure out to sell the property for the property owner? If you don't, it reverts to the zoning area that it's in, instead of leaving it sitting there as this defunct piece of property hanging out. So there's areas that we want to get a look at, and the idea is to be able to support both the BZA and the planning board for the long haul, to make it easier to deal with stuff coming up and to help the town code guy and the town planner to make it clear what's in the zoning that matches up. You've got one coming in already now on the 1st of January with wetlands. We have our own local wetlands that we never bothered to define with a definition. We never referenced the wetlands map we have anywhere in our zoning. That's just magically says local wetlands. No clue as to what the hell local wetlands are. But the DEC has taken that all over. Come the 1st of January, everything that involves wetlands has to go to the DEC for decision. And so that's just gonna get overridden by the state. And there will be things that happen like that. So I'm really looking for a positive way that we can help support the town without trying to overload anybody's position and that sort of stuff. And as we get farther down the line, you know, if it looks like you're gonna need to support it, we'll, with manpower and that, we'll work it through at that point. But at this point, it's really just the planning board using time available to start digging into these
I
items.
really appreciate that you're willing to step up and, kind of shepherd this through, so I'm all for it.
So I think that we can find a way to say yes. I think, at least my position is, I think I can find a way to say yes. I am not a fan though of drafting resolutions on the fly, because I feel like that is a bad way to go. So maybe we can work together and come up with a resolution. I'm envisioning something that we would authorize, like an exploratory look. I think it'd be great to have the planning board, if they were willing to look at a variety of different frankly, there are as many issues you could look at as pages in the zoning code, which is now over 200 pages. So I think, it would be great if the planning board would look into it and come back and say, here are some areas we're thinking of focusing on. Because it's so funny with the zoning code, at least in my experience, I was the planning board chair in 2019 when the zoning code was adopted. So I wasn't on the town board when it happened, and there were a number of things the planning board thought should be different, that whatever reason the town board made different choices, and that's just how it goes. In some cases, or in that case. And so I think they're having a focused approach, doing exploratory and then taking a focused approach. But what I discovered is it's something that I might think is a very simple change. In fact, it doesn't become a simple change. For instance, at one point we talked about adding recreation as an allowed use in the agricultural district. And that was met with significant questions of the board members, some board members that were on the board at that point, because what are the implications when to 70% of the town that's in the ag zone? And now, mind you, recreation was being proposed as an allowed use when golf courses are an allowed use, which to me sounds very much like recreation. And so if golf courses are already allowed use, but recreation causes concerns, again, it was one of those things where it's like, oh, well, to me, it seems simple, but to other people it didn't. And so sometimes the simple changes aren't in fact simple to others, and we want to make sure we're doing things consistently. But if we could work together on a way for the planning board, I'd love to use your time and energy if you're willing. So that's very generous.
So what's the plan to have?
We'll work on a resolution and we can bring something back at the meeting on the 24th. I already put it on the agenda.
Alright, okay,
Right, yes.
thank you.
Sounds good. Cause I'd like to get Niels's feedback, and I'd also like, because it's not just what I brought up Niels, but every single change that involves legal costs along the way, both of our attorneys, like, cause all this stuff has to be reviewed. There are legal costs, and then there are also filing costs. So I think every time we make a zoning change, there's a cost that can be in the hundreds to the thousands of dollars. So doing them, within a framework of
Okay,
understanding, that's good. But thank you very much.
alright. Rich,
Um,
move to adjourn.
thank you.
You're slipping there.
Yeah, 10 minutes.